Let me take you back to the year 2005. Resident Evil 4 has just released and has already taken the world by storm. And while the success of RE4 was no doubt a global phenomenon, Capcom was already very busy on their next project. Sometime in 2004, with the cancellation of a possible future Shadow of Rome 2, Capcom instead directed their attention into making MT Framework, a game engine that has lived on even till today. However, what's the point of a new powerful game engine if you have no games? A small team was assembled by Capcom led by Keiji Inafune and Yutaka Haruki to create a little-known game called Dead Rising, which would be developed in conjunction with Lost Planet to be the first two of many games to run on this new engine. MT Framework was in development at the same time as Dead Rising started production. When something wasn't quite working in Dead Rising, the engine was then optimized. MT Framework was practically made using Dead Rising. Both Dead Rising and Lost Planet were essentially a proof of concept to showcase that this engine was no joke and it was able to drive some serious games. Development of Dead Rising was kept under secrecy for a long time, and throughout development, the team referred to the project as Snatcher. Now, it's never been explained to us why it got such a name, but references to this codename even made it as far as in-game Easter eggs. It's unclear whether they took this name from the 1988 Snatcher video game or the 1993 film Body Snatchers or something completely different. Dead Rising eventually got its official working title in May of 2005. However, by then, quite a lot of aspects of the game were created. The first unveiling of the game showcased a complete shift from RE4, both in tone and overall gameplay. Inafune wanted to create the polar opposite of a Resident Evil game, stating that he wanted the character to be a normal Joe, and this is exactly what the E3 trailer presented. Dead Rising was on track to being its own franchise, and while gamers were already accustomed to the idea of zombie games, Dead Rising was about to be a breath of fresh air in the zombie genre. After game journalists got hold of promotional images for E3, online video game forums exploded with speculations and debates on what exactly Dead Rising is. Dead Rising would appear at many gaming conventions throughout development, such as E3 of course, but also Xbox Summit, Tokyo Game Show, X05, Zero Hour, CES, and many others. If there was a place with people who like video games, chances are Capcom showed some Dead Rising there. Capcom officially created hype for a new game just from attending as many shows as humanly possible, and that clearly worked. After E3 2005, Capcom was eagerly awaiting the official release of the Xbox 360, as the team was hoping to have the game in stores only a few months after the console launched. However, that didn't exactly happen. The team realized that what they had currently in development wasn't what they wanted, and that the tone of the game or the general direction the game was taking wasn't captured the way they intended. Tokyo Game Show eventually rolled by, and Capcom still wasn't able to explain what exactly this game was about, and it only caused more mystery. So Capcom made the very risky decision to essentially start over and extend development further into 2006. Capcom would ironically see the evolution of the Xbox 360 hardware pass them by while working on this game, starting on the alpha kits, and then slowly migrating to the beta Xenon kits, and eventually getting their hands on the final development hardware. Therefore, meaning the official release of the Xbox 360 came and went, and there was no Dead Rising in sight. The major delay of Dead Rising caused reviewers to speculate about a possible cancellation, as the game entered various points of development where any news ceased to surface on an actual release date. Major spikes in articles and online forum rants clearly put a lot of pressure on the team. This forced them to scrap many ideas in favor of having the game released sooner. What Dead Rising could have been throughout development was essentially cut away like a stone statue before they finally settled on what Dead Rising truly is. With the old, creepy aesthetic dead and gone, Capcom used the remaining months of 2006 to polish a completely new design, which is how we came to know Dead Rising today. Originally, the game tried to focus more on the horror and reality of a zombie apocalypse, seen by the far scarier zombie designs and the overall bleak lighting in the mall. An overall tone of horror was established, but it didn't exactly fare well with both the team's ideas and whatever feedback they got from their user research. As soon as February passed, a serious change in tone could be seen almost immediately, as they would continue to refine this new design until E3 2006, where the bulk of the changes were then applied. And it was finally starting to look like a game instead of a tech demo. In only a year's time after release, Dead Rising quickly became a Platinum Hits title, and because of how quickly it achieved this, Dead Rising today is most commonly seen with the Platinum box art, as the original release was quickly phased out. The American Platinum Hits version of the game would oddly see some small changes, as in the original release, the player's title screen level number was spaced farther away from the level text than it should have been, and now in this re-released version, they brought the text closer together. This is likely to do with the fact that Dead Rising never got a patch or title update over Xbox Live. Any issues with the 360 build of the game that were present on launch day are still here in 2018 unless they were patched in a re-release. Skipping forward to 2008, Dead Rising is still proving to be a console seller 2 years after release. However, this also brought some very negative attention. After over 2 years of communication between companies, Capcom was essentially hit by a bus in early 2008, when the MKR Group, who holds the legal rights to the Dawn of the Dead franchise, claimed that Capcom was breaching copyright protection because of speculated similarities between the 1978 Dawn of the Dead movie and Dead Rising. However, luckily, Capcom's legal team was able to battle this, as there are many striking differences between the two, and that the similarities are only due to the nature of the zombie genre in general and not something that is protected by MKR. The charges were effectively dropped, and Capcom remained legally allowed to sell Dead Rising for as long as they want. However, this ongoing legal battle between Capcom and MKR actually started in early 2006. Therefore, not long after the game's release, Capcom issued a new batch of box arts which would print a legal disclaimer about it being a different product from Dawn of the Dead. This seemed to work, until of course in 2008 when communication likely stopped between MKR and Capcom, thus legal action took place. But in the end, nothing happened. Capcom won and MKR slithered away. In 2016, for a way to celebrate Dead Rising reaching 10 years since launch, Capcom decided to port the game to next-gen consoles like the PS4 and Xbox One, as well as porting it to PC with Steam, finally answering every Dead Rising fan's dream about easier access to modding as well as much better graphics. The port was accomplished by a collaboration between Capcom Vancouver and QLock, a porting and quality assurance company, who were able to amazingly port the game to next-gen systems without changing the feel of the game. In fact, without changing anything. Playing Dead Rising on the Xbox One feels exactly like it did in 2006 on the 360, just now in 1080p, 60 frames per second. And that brings us to today, right now. If there was any proof that Dead Rising is a cultural phenomenon, I think this video sums it up. We, as a community, are still talking about this 12-year-old game to this day, and I think that's pretty amazing. This has been the history of Dead Rising. Thank you for watching, and as always, subscribe for more.